All right, QL crew, let's talk about cooking so that healthy is an easy choice. Beginning in Unit 4, we started paying attention to food labels and we started working on making healthier choices in the foods that we choose. As you continue to pay attention to labels and use the calorie counting resources that you explored in Units 5 and 7, start looking at the percent daily value of the various nutrients that each food supplies. The Food and Drug Administration defines foods providing 10% or more of a daily value of nutrient as a good source of that nutrient. Here's an example. I used to eat hummus for breakfast, thinking I was giving myself a good protein boost at the start of the day. Nope, only 2 grams of protein per serving. For my age, weight, and health conditions, my nutritionist advises me to aim for 100 grams a day. So 2 grams is only 2% of my individual daily recommendation. I love hummus and I'll continue to eat it, but here I've just separated fact from fiction, like we did together in Unit 5. I would have been better off with 2 hard-boiled eggs, 6 grams each of protein, or a handful of seeds to get 12 grams or 12% of my daily protein needs. Remember from Unit 6, Lesson 1, my handful is about half a cup. What we're trying to do with all of our exploring is to educate ourselves. It's why I have asked you to record what surprises you in the food section of your tracker. This week, we're going to talk about cooking, both to make it easier to eat healthily versus grab and go, and because food preparation methods actually can alter the nutrient content of foods. So let's talk about this before we get to the fun stuff. Different cooking methods can impact the nutrient content of foods, according to the National Institutes of Health. Some techniques help preserve vitamins and minerals, while others may cause losses or introduce potentially harmful compounds. Here's a quick breakdown. Best for nutrient retention is steaming and microwaving. These methods use minimal heat and water, and this preserves the water-soluble vitamins like C and B. A moderate impact is baking and roasting. Dry heat methods retain nutrients better than boiling, but they may degrade some of the heat-sensitive vitamins such as vitamin C. Potential nutrient loss and risk happens with grilling and smoking. High temperatures can lead to nutrient loss and the formation of compounds which may have health risks. Consider cooking time and temperature. Cooking at lower temperatures for shorter durations helps to retain more nutrients. Now, obviously, you don't need to do all of one and less of another. Use a balanced approach to maximize your nutrient intake. Try a mix of raw and cooked foods using gentle cooking methods when possible. But remember, it's what gets your family eating those nutrient-rich foods that matters the most. My family dislikes microwaved veggies but loves them roasted. I can throw 3 sheet pans in the oven on Sunday and have grab and go veggies for lunch or add them to dinners when my day runs too long for veggie prep. I personally cannot stand the smell of cooking fish, so I wrap it in foil with its herbs and usually slices of lemon and bake it in a casserole dish. If I have to clean fishy pans, I lose the motivation to cook fish. So you got to do what works for you in your situation at home. You may remember in Unit 3 when I said that Sundays are my PJ days. They're also my make ahead days for those things that make our meals healthy during our work week. My husband used to buy pre-made salads, but after checking the ingredients, especially the sugars in the dressings, we now prep salads for the week. It's a 30-minute Sunday job. And I am queen of leftovers for lunch for myself, but if I know I'm going to have a day where there won't likely be any leftovers or I won't be near a microwave, I'll make a salad for myself that day at the same time I'm throwing together his. Another thing I do on Sunday mornings while sipping an extra cuppa is to make a rough menu and grocery list for the week. I started this when my daughter was in elementary school, and I'm much less likely to reach for shortcuts when I've planned ahead, especially when unexpected snafus wreck my schedule. I tend to write my list each week in the order of the grocery store aisles because we're creatures of habit and we shop at the same few places. I check my fridge, my freezer, and pantry each week to see what I have and plan meals around what I have. A good friend and I are experimenting with almond flour pancakes and other special breakfast foods on weekends when she visits, and I found it cheaper to order almond flour online than to buy it in the tiny bags at the grocery store. That brings me to my favorite part of this lesson, cooking. I love cooking almost as much as I love eating. I was experimenting with 20-minute meals before celebrity chef Rachel Ray ever made them a thing, and honestly, this was a necessity for us. I was a working parent, and our house was the hangout house for my kid and her friends. I needed to be able to walk in the door and get dinner on the table within 30 minutes of walking in that door, and often and very happily walked in the door to more kids than just my own. My menus have always included proteins and veggies, but they were also really heavy in meal stretcher ingredients like rice and pasta. My focus is on flavor and nutrition now. And with learning and experimentation, I'm shifting to low spike lifestyle foods. It doesn't mean that I've deleted those meal stretchers, I've just swapped them out. For example, instead of a plate full of pasta and a side of veggies, we now put a little bit of pasta in the bottom of a pasta dish, fill that dish with veggies, and ladle on the sauce. A note on pasta sauce, make sure it's low in sugar. Some brands have 10 grams or more. Be curious about all of those labels. In this way, the pasta becomes the side dish and the veggies are the main dish, dripping in delicious sauce. Yum! Oh, to quote Rachel Ray. Another favorite recipe that I have sped up and trimmed down is what I like to call jumba. With Cajun roots on my hubby's side, jambalaya is a beloved dish, but it takes all day to make. For a quick weeknight dinner, I saute celery and bell pepper and then add andouille sausage. Again, pay attention to labels. Some have fillers. I happen to prefer Adele's andouille, which has pork, sea salt, garlic, black and red and white pepper, a little bit of sugar, paprika, celery powder, and onion, and that's it. When the sausage is hot and browned, I add canned diced tomatoes, and when that's hot, I add shrimp. Woo-wee! We used to eat this over a mix of white and brown rice, but have recently been trying lower glycemic index grains. So our current favorite is bulgur. You could also try quinoa if your family can't eat gluten. The thing that I love about bulgur is that it really takes on the flavors of what you put over it. And I find that I actually like it better than rice because rice has its own flavor. The bulgur doesn't distract from the deliciousness of the jumba. We'll talk in our next live about other tips and tricks and recipes, and I would love it if you would share a weeknight wonder that your family loves. Next, let's close out this unit with our gather, grow, and let's go lesson.